The colony of Haven Ridge sat quietly on the edge of the green hills, surrounded by rocky mountains that cut sharply against the sky. It was a small place, a cluster of farms, homes, and a few workshops. But the people who lived there loved it dearly. They had carved out their lives in a place far from the crowded cities of Earth, seeking peace, fresh air, and freedom. The fields were full of crops, and the children ran along the dirt roads, laughing and playing with their pets. Life moved slowly, and the people felt safe. Evan Brooks walked along the main street of the colony, checking on the homes and farms. He was not a soldier. He was a simple man, quiet and kind. But people had chosen him to lead when the colony faced problems. Evan cared deeply for every person in Haven Ridge, and his heart ached at the thought of losing anyone. He had been out early that morning, speaking with farmers and helping where he could. The sun was still rising, painting the hills in gold, when he noticed the first strange shadows in the sky. At first, they looked like clouds, thin and moving too fast. But soon, Evan realized they were ships, many ships, dark and sharp, moving with a speed that made the birds scatter. His stomach tightened. He ran toward the communications center, his boots kicking up dust, and pushed inside. Lily Carter, the young communications officer, was already at her console. She was small and nervous, but brave. Her fingers flew across the keys as she tried to contact any nearby human stations. "Evan," Lily said, her voice shaking. "I can't get a clear signal. They're jamming us. We're completely cut off." Evan took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "How many are there?" he asked. I can't tell for sure." "Too many." Lily's eyes were wide, scanning the displays. "They're surrounding us." The words hit Evan like a cold wind. Surrounded. There was no way out. The alien forces had completely encircled the colony. Haven Ridge was trapped. Outside, the first Vekri forces landed. They were strange creatures, taller than a human, with armor that glimmered like metal in the sunlight. Their movements were fast and precise, and they carried weapons that seemed to hum with energy. A few ships hovered above, sending down beams that cut into the ground and shattered rocks. The colony's defenses were primitive compared to the aliens' advanced technology. Evan felt a cold fear in his chest. He ran back outside to the central square, where the militia had gathered. They were farmers and laborers, not trained soldiers. They held rifles and homemade weapons, ready to defend their homes. But Evan knew it would not be enough. Ryan Holt, the militia leader, stood tall and tried to rally his people. His voice was strong, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed his worry. "Everyone, listen," Ryan shouted. "We may not be soldiers, but we are human. We will protect our homes. Do not give up, even if it seems hopeless." Evan nodded at Ryan, then turned to look at the families huddled near the shelters. Mothers clutched their children, and fathers tried to keep them calm. The sky above was darkening as more Vekri ships appeared. A shadow passed over the colony, and a low rumble shook the ground. The people froze, unsure if it was the ships or something else. Lily ran to Evan. "I sent a short SOS," she said, "but I don't know if anyone will get it. Our systems are damaged. The aliens are good at this." Evan placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did everything you could," he said gently. "Now we have to focus on keeping everyone alive." The first skirmishes began that night. Small Vekri squads moved in, testing the colony's defenses. They fired beams that sliced through fences and walls. The militia returned fire, but most shots bounced off the aliens' armor. Some of the younger fighters screamed in panic, but Ryan kept shouting orders, trying to hold their lines. The civilians were moved into underground shelters, away from the danger, while Evan ran from one place to another, checking that everyone was safe. By midnight, the colony had been cut off from all outside contact. The Vekri had set up a tight perimeter around the farms and homes. There was no escape. Evan and Ryan gathered the militia in the largest underground shelter to plan their defense. "We can't let them take the colony without a fight," Ryan said, his face grim. "We need to slow them down. Every moment counts." Evan nodded. "We'll set up traps, barricades, anything we can. And we keep people in shelters, No one goes outside unless necessary. Lily looked at her screen, where the faint signal she had sent earlier showed a small trace of hope. I think someone might have received the SOS, she said. I can't tell yet, but there's a signal coming back. It's weak. Very weak. Evan's heart lifted slightly. Maybe they were not completely alone. But the colony was still surrounded, and the Vekri showed no mercy. Outside, the aliens advanced in waves, moving through the fields and breaking through fences. The humans fought back as best as they could, using rocks, improvised explosives, and rifles. Every victory was small, and every loss was painful. Hours passed, and dawn approached. The first light revealed the full scale of the attack. The Vekri had cut trenches around the colony and placed heavy weapons at key points. The human militia could not hold the line forever. Every time they slowed the enemy, another squad replaced them. The colony's food stores and equipment were under threat. People whispered fearfully about the end, and some began to lose hope. Evan walked through the underground shelter where families were hiding. He saw children with wide eyes, clutching their parents' hands. Mothers tried to keep them calm. Fathers stared at the walls, silent with fear. He knelt down and spoke to a young boy named Caleb. It's going to be okay, Evan said, though he did not know if it was true. We have people who are strong. We will protect you. Caleb looked at him with tears, but nodded. His trust gave Evan a small measure of courage. He moved on, checking on the others. Meanwhile, Ryan and the militia continued their night-long defense. Each time a Vekri squad attacked, the humans fought with every ounce of strength they had. Bullets and energy beams crossed the fields. Metal clanged, and cries of pain echoed through the valley. The battle was relentless, and exhaustion began to take its toll. Lily tried to monitor the communications again. She noticed a pattern in the interference, a faint pulse that repeated over and over. She did not understand it, but it was different from the usual jamming signals. She showed it to Evan. What is it? He asked. I don't know, Lily admitted. It could be a response to our SOS, or it could be something else. Evan felt a small flicker of hope. If the signal was indeed a response, it might mean help was on the way, but he could not rely on that hope alone. The humans in the colony had to survive tonight. The first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley. The Vekri launched their final attack, moving as if to crush the colony completely. Their weapons fired in unison, creating lines of energy that swept across the fields. The militia returned fire, holding the aliens at bay, but the pressure was immense. Evan stood with Ryan and watched the horizon. We may not make it through, he said quietly, but we will fight. We will not give up. Lily tapped on her console and gasped. Evan, look! The pulse! It's growing stronger! The tremor in the ground deepened. The sky above Haven Ridge changed as something massive approached from the distance. Neither humans nor Vekri could identify it yet. The ground shook, dust rose in clouds, and a low rumble rolled through the valley. The Vekri stopped for a moment, confused. The humans watched in fear and anticipation, unsure what was coming. Evan held his breath. The colony was surrounded. The enemy was near. But for the first time in many hours, there was a strange feeling among the people. Hope. The night had been long. The battle had been harsh. The colony had suffered. Yet somewhere beyond the hills, something moved. Something that might turn the tide. The first part of Haven Ridge's desperate struggle was over. The humans had survived the night, battered and exhausted, but alive. And in the distance, a sound rose above the valley, a sound that would change everything for them. Evan looked at the horizon, gripping his rifle tightly. If this is it, he whispered, then we fight until the very end. And far beyond the encirclement, the faint tremor became stronger. The shadows of massive ships appeared against the dawn sky. For the humans trapped in Haven Ridge, it was the first sign that they might not be alone after all. The rumble grew louder. The people of Haven Ridge watched the horizon with wide eyes, their fear mixed with a strange sense of hope. The ground shook under their feet as enormous shapes appeared above the hills. Massive ships, unlike anything the humans had ever seen, descended from the sky. They were Earth's shock troops, the Iron Vanguard, and they were here to save them. Evan Brooks could hardly believe what he was seeing. The ships were huge, shining in the sunlight, and they moved with incredible precision. Dropcraft began to detach from the main vessels, screaming through the air and landing directly in the valley. Dust and rocks flew in every direction as the crafts hit the ground, their landing gear slamming into the soil with a deafening noise. The colony had been completely encircled, but now salvation was arriving. Ryan Holt, the militia leader, barked orders to his men. "Hold your positions. Don't panic. Watch what they do." The first dropcraft opened its massive hatch, and the elite soldiers emerged. They wore heavy armor that gleamed even in the dust and sunlight. Their faces were hidden behind visors, but their movements were calm, disciplined, and deadly. They were the Iron Vanguard, humanity's finest shock troops, sent to the edges of space to protect isolated colonies like Haven Ridge. The commander of the unit, Derek Hall, stepped forward. His presence alone commanded attention. He scanned the battlefield with a steady gaze, calculating every angle, every threat. Beside him, his second-in-command, Nina Brooks, moved among the soldiers, checking weapons and relaying orders. They were the leaders, the ones who would turn the tide of the battle. The Vekri paused, their long limbs tense, as they realized something was happening. Their advance had been unstoppable until now, but the humans had reinforcements. They fired their weapons at the landing crafts, but the iron shields of the troopers absorbed the energy beams with ease. The shock troops did not hesitate. They moved out of the crafts in perfect formation, advancing toward the Vekri lines with a steady, confident pace. Evan could hardly believe his eyes. The humans who had arrived were not ordinary soldiers. They moved with a precision and speed that seemed impossible. With every step, they cleared obstacles, dodged fire, and pressed forward. The Vekri, who had believed they would crush the colony easily, found themselves forced to retreat, step by step. "Ryan," Evan said, pointing toward the advancing soldiers. "Get your militia to follow them. Help where you can. This is our chance." Ryan nodded, shouting to his men. The militia moved forward, their morale renewed by the arrival of the shock troops. For the first time since the siege began, the humans felt that they might survive. Even the civilians dared to peek from their shelters, watching the battle shift in favor of humanity. Lily Carter worked furiously at the communications console. The faint pulse she had detected earlier now grew stronger, clearer. She could send and receive messages through it. She sent a signal to the approaching ships, letting the commanders know the exact positions of the Vekri and the colony's layout. Derek received the message and nodded to Nina. "They've been trapped too long. We'll hit their strongest points first. Flank them from both sides. Move carefully, but don't stop." Nina relayed the orders. "All squads, advance in formation. Target enemy trenches and heavy weapons first. Protect the colony civilians at all costs." The Vekri realized, too late, that their encirclement was breaking. Derek's squads attacked with a force the aliens had never faced. They used synchronized movements, suppressing fire, and precision strikes to dismantle the alien positions. Heavy beams were absorbed by their shields, while the soldiers returned fire with incredible speed. In minutes, the Vekri's forward trenches were overrun, leaving them scrambling to defend the next line. Evan and Ryan moved with the militia alongside the shock troops. They helped protect the civilians and assisted in clearing debris. Every time a Vekri appeared, they fired with determination. Though they were ordinary humans, their courage strengthened with every step. They were no longer alone. The Vekri commander barked orders, sending reinforcements to the threatened lines. He was tall and menacing, with sharp features that made his species look even more alien. Yet even he could not anticipate the strategy of the Iron Vanguard. Derek's soldiers moved with coordination that seemed almost unnatural. They flanked the Vekri, striking from unexpected angles and forcing them into retreat. Amid the chaos, Nina moved through the battlefield, coordinating squads, providing cover fire, and ensuring civilians were guided to safety. She spotted a group of children trapped near a collapsed barn. Without hesitation, she ran toward them, clearing the path of enemy forces and escorting them back to the underground shelter. Her actions inspired both the militia and the colonists. They realized the humans who had arrived were not only powerful, but also focused entirely on protecting lives. Lily watched all of this on her monitors, heart pounding. She relayed information to Derek, providing details on Vekri movements. "Their left flank is weakening," she said. "If you push there, you can break their line completely." Derek nodded. "Good work, Carter. Prepare the squads for a coordinated strike." The troopers moved with incredible precision. They struck the Vekri left flank exactly as Lily predicted, forcing the aliens into disarray. Trenches that had seemed impregnable were overrun. The Vekri were skilled fighters, but they had never faced soldiers trained with such perfect timing and discipline. The humans' courage, combined with their tactics, was unmatched. Evan watched as the first alien soldiers fled the battlefield, their confidence shattered. He turned to Ryan. "We can do this," he said. "They're breaking. We might actually survive this." The human militia pressed forward, inspired by the shock troops. Even farmers who had only known how to wield a hoe now held rifles with determination. They fought side by side with the Iron Vanguard, striking fear into the Vekri. Each step they took forward meant safety for the colony. The battle raged for hours, but the humans were relentless. Derek and Nina coordinated every movement, ensuring no soldier was wasted and every civilian was protected. The Vekri tried to regroup, but the humans' combined strength was overwhelming. One by one, enemy positions fell. The aliens retreated into the surrounding hills, confused and battered. Evan could hardly keep track of everything happening. The valley was filled with smoke, dust, and the noise of battle. Yet somehow the humans remained in control. The sight of their determination filled him with pride. Haven Ridge was being defended not just by the militia, but by the best of humanity. At one point, a squad of Vekri attempted to flank the humans near the eastern edge of the colony. Derek noticed immediately. He signaled a group of troopers to intercept them, moving like a well-oiled machine. The ambush was stopped before it could succeed, and the Vekri soldiers were forced to retreat. Meanwhile, Lily sent out another pulse, reaching nearby human fleets. They acknowledged the distress signal and promised reinforcements, although they were not yet visible. Knowing that more help was coming strengthened the humans' resolve. By late afternoon, the Vekri lines had been shattered. The encirclement that had seemed impossible to break was now broken. The aliens retreated, regrouping in the distant hills, wary of further attacks. The humans had survived, not by luck, but by courage, skill, and the timely arrival of Earth's elite soldiers. Evan walked among the survivors, checking on their condition. Mothers held their children tightly, grateful tears in their eyes. Fathers shook hands with the militia and the shock troops, expressing thanks they could not put into words. Ryan Holt clapped a hand on Derek's shoulder. "We couldn't have done this without you," he said simply. Derek shook his head. "No. It was your courage too. You fought to protect your people. That is what matters. We just helped guide the fight." Nina moved among the civilians, calming them and organizing temporary shelters. She spoke kindly, her voice steady even as the dust and smoke swirled around them. The humans who had once feared the end now stood with renewed strength. The hope that had flickered in the night now burned brightly. As the sun began to set, the battlefield quieted. The dust settled, revealing the damage to the fields and homes, but also showing the resilience of the humans who had defended them. Evan stood with Lily and Ryan, looking at the horizon. Somewhere out there, the Vekri were still planning, still dangerous. But for now, Haven Ridge was safe, and far above the hills, the shadow of more ships moved silently. Reinforcements from Earth were coming, bringing the full might of humanity to the edges of space. The Iron Vanguard had arrived, The encirclement had been broken, and the people of Haven Ridge had seen firsthand that Earth would never abandon them. For the first time in days, the colony could breathe. The battle was not fully over, but the worst had passed. Hope returned to the hearts of humans who had been trapped, showing them that courage, determination, and unity could overcome even the greatest dangers. And in that moment, Evan realized something powerful. Humanity was stronger than anyone had ever imagined. The sun rose slowly over Haven Ridge, casting golden light over the valley. The battle that had raged through the night and day was finally quieting. But the humans could not yet relax. The Vekri had retreated, but they were still out there, lurking in the hills, watching for any weakness. The colony had survived, thanks to the arrival of Earth's shock troops. But the fight was not yet fully over. Evan Brooks walked among the survivors, helping those who had been injured or frightened. Children clung to their parents, their eyes wide with both fear and wonder. The adults moved with careful steps, checking homes and farms for damage. The valley was full of smoke and dust, and the fields bore the marks of the battle. Yet amidst the destruction, there was a feeling of triumph. Humanity had stood strong against overwhelming odds. Derek Hall and Nina Brooks gathered the shock troops near the center of the colony. They had spent the night coordinating patrols, securing the area, and helping the militia rebuild defensive positions. Their faces were tired, but their eyes were steady. They had accomplished something incredible, but they knew vigilance was still necessary. Ryan Holt approached Derek. "We held them off, but I want to make sure they don't come back. Can we finish this?" Derek nodded. "We will. We push them out of the hills and make sure Haven Ridge is completely safe. No one survives by luck alone." The plan was simple but dangerous. The Iron Vanguard would lead a coordinated strike into the hills, clearing out remaining Vekri forces and preventing them from regrouping. The militia would follow, securing the colony and protecting civilians. Every step had to be careful, because the Vekri were cunning and could set traps. Evan volunteered to guide the militia. "I know these hills," he said. "I can help avoid any surprises." Nina agreed. "Good. Stay close to us. And keep your people together. We move as one unit." The humans moved toward the hills in formation. The valley below had become a quiet reminder of what was at stake. The Iron Vanguard advanced first, shields up, weapons ready. Every step was deliberate, every movement coordinated. Behind them, the militia followed, carrying supplies, medical kits, and extra ammunition. The civilians who could walk accompanied them, keeping a safe distance while watching the soldiers move with awe. As they reached the base of the first hill, a group of Vekri appeared. They had been hiding in the rocky terrain, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The aliens opened fire, their weapons blazing, but the shock troops responded instantly. Energy beams struck the rocks and ground with precision, neutralizing enemy positions. The militia fired carefully from behind cover, following orders and protecting the advancing soldiers. Derek and Nina led the charge up the hill, cutting through the Vekri lines. They moved with speed and accuracy, each shot calculated, each movement practiced. The aliens were strong, but the humans were stronger together. Evan's militia supported them, helping cover flanks and preventing the Vekri from escaping down the hill. The battle was intense. Rocks flew, energy beams cracked the air, and shouts echoed across the hills. Yet the humans pressed forward without hesitation. Every step forward meant Haven Ridge would be safer. Every Vekri they forced back was a victory for humanity. Lily Carter stayed in the valley, coordinating communication. She monitored the battlefield from her console, relaying information about Vekri positions and sending updates to Derek. "They're trying to regroup at the next ridge," she said. "If you move quickly, you can catch them before they reorganize." Derek nodded. "Move fast. Push them out completely. We finish this today." The humans continued their advance, clearing each ridge and trench. The Vekri fought fiercely, but their morale was broken. They had never expected humans to arrive so quickly, to fight with such courage. And to strike with such precision, one by one, their groups were defeated, and their retreat became chaotic. On the eastern side of the hill, a squad of Vekri tried to ambush the humans. Nina noticed immediately. "Flank them!" she shouted. The troopers moved swiftly, surrounding the Vekri and cutting off their escape. The ambush failed completely, and the aliens fled further into the hills. Evan guided the militia along a safe path, helping them avoid hidden traps. They cleared caves and small outposts, ensuring that no Vekri remained to threaten the colony. Each step was dangerous, but the humans were careful, disciplined, and determined. By midday, the hills around Haven Ridge were under human control. The Vekri had been forced to retreat into the distant mountains, too far to launch an immediate counterattack. The valley and colony below were finally safe, though the damage to farms and homes was visible. Evan looked over the battlefield, exhausted but proud. "We did it," he said quietly. "The colony is safe. The worst is over." Derek approached him. "You and your people fought bravely. It was your courage that made our job easier. Without it, Haven Ridge might not have survived." Ryan Holt joined them, smiling despite the grime and sweat on his face. "We couldn't have done it alone," he said. "Your soldiers were amazing. We learned what humans can do when they fight together." The survivors of the colony began to emerge from their shelters. They looked at the soldiers with gratitude and awe. Mothers hugged their children tightly. Fathers shook hands with the militia and shock troops, and even the children tried to mimic the disciplined movements of the soldiers they had watched. For them, this was a day that would never be forgotten. Lily sent another signal into deep space, confirming that the Vekri were defeated in the immediate area and that the colony was secure. Other human fleets had received the signal and were on their way, though it would take hours for them to arrive. The Iron Vanguard would remain to protect the colony until full reinforcements arrived. As the humans helped clear debris and repair minor damages, Derek and Nina walked among the soldiers. "We must remain vigilant," Derek said. "The Vekri may return, but they will think twice before attacking humans again." Today they learned a hard lesson. Nina nodded. "We showed them that humanity will not give up, no matter the odds. Haven Ridge survived because we fight for each other. That is what makes us strong." Evan joined them, looking around at his home. Despite the destruction, there was a sense of hope. The colony had survived an impossible attack. The people had seen firsthand the strength of human courage and determination. Families began to return to their homes, checking for damage and salvaging what they could. The Iron Vanguard helped set up temporary defenses, ensuring that if the Vekri tried to return, they would face immediate resistance. The soldiers trained some of the militia in better defensive tactics, showing them how to use the terrain to their advantage. The humans who had once been farmers now stood ready to defend their homes with skill and confidence. As evening fell, the survivors gathered in the central square. Fires were lit to provide warmth and light. Evan addressed the people, his voice strong and steady. "We survived because we did not give up. We survived because we had courage, and because help came when we needed it most. Haven Ridge stands today, and it will continue to stand tomorrow." Ryan stepped beside him. "You fought well, everyone. And we were not alone. Humanity is stronger than any enemy we face. Remember that." Ryan. Lily sent one final message for the day, recording the events so they could be shared with Earth. She wanted the people of other colonies to know that even in the darkest moments, help could arrive. Humanity would not abandon its own. Derek and Nina watched the people from the edge of the square. The battle had been hard, but the colony was safe. Children ran and laughed again, families shared food and water, and hope returned to the hearts of everyone. The Iron Vanguard had accomplished their mission, but the humans of Haven Ridge had also played a crucial role. Together, they had proven that courage and unity could overcome any threat. As night fell over the valley, the stars twinkled above, and the survivors of Haven Ridge finally felt peace. The Vekri had been driven away, and the colony was secure. The people knew that Earth would send more help if needed, and that they were part of a larger human family willing to fight for each other. Evan looked at the hills surrounding the colony, and then at the stars above. He knew this battle would be remembered for generations. Haven Ridge had survived because humans refused to give up, because they fought together, and because Earth's shock troops had arrived in time. But more than that, they had survived because courage and determination flowed through every human heart. The valley was quiet now, the fires crackling in the evening breeze. Families reunited, the militia and civilians worked together to rebuild, and the soldiers of the Iron Vanguard prepared to rest before continuing their watch. Haven Ridge had endured the impossible, and humanity had proven once again that it would never abandon its own. And far beyond the horizon, the Vekri retreated, knowing they had underestimated humans. The message was clear. Wherever humans were, they would fight. Wherever humans were, they could not be conquered. And the people of Haven Ridge would never forget the day they were saved, the day they learned what it meant to be human. The colony had survived the siege. But more importantly, the humans had shown that courage, unity, and determination could overcome any enemy. Haven Ridge stood tall, a symbol of human strength in the galaxy. And as night covered the valley, the stars shone brighter than ever, reflecting the spirit of humanity that would never be broken.